Hello friends, welcome back to another video and a special hello if you are new. Today I'm going to be sharing with you the books that I read in June. In the month of June, I read 4 books. For some reason, when I went into my reading tracker apps and looked to see what books I had read, I was like, I read so much this month. I read 6 books, and then I saw that I'd read 4 and I was like, wait a minute, where did I get that number from? But I had a pretty good reading month. I read 3 physical books and 1 ebook. As always, we'll start with physical books, and the first physical book that I read in the month of June was Lovely War by Julie Berry, and this was probably my favorite book of the month. This is a Greek mythology World War I/II historical fiction. I thought it was really well done, combining those different elements, and I think it makes it very unique and kind of sets it apart from other books in the genre. I know that this book was quite popular a few years ago, and then I feel like I got a clummy hair on my nose, I'm sorry. But then years before that it was popular, so it's had a couple popularity resurgence, but I'm just now getting to it. It's been on my shelf for quite a while. But basically the Greek goddess of love, Aphrodite, has to spin this tale of love and this just epic beautiful story, or she is going to face judgment on Mount Vernon. No. Mount Vernon is where George Washington lived. Can you tell that I've been listening to the Hamilton soundtrack nonstop? And then that's a Hamilton reference that I didn't even intend to make. I've really been on a Hamilton kick really bad, guys. Ever since the 10-year anniversary at the Tonys. Yeah, it's been. Anyway, on Mount Olympus, I don't even know. Oh gosh, okay. But so basically the primary love story that Aphrodite is telling is the story of a young woman named Hazel. I think she's 18 or 19. I think this leans a little bit more YA. She is a pianist, and she goes to Paris to serve for the Red Cross in World War I. And then kind of her beau, who she meets in the opening chapters of the book, is named James, and he is a soldier that is sent to the front lines. While Hazel, I feel like she's kind of the primary main character. While Hazel is in France at the Red Cross, she kind of has another girl who she's working with named Colette, who has lost her entire family to the war, and a African-American soldier named Aubrey, I think. Let me make sure. Yes, he is from Harlem, and he is a musician. And it kind of, just pairs off from there. But I'm all flustered over Mount Vernon. I'm so sorry. But again, I really enjoyed this. I think it was, again, very well done, very unique to other books in its genre. I also really loved the story of Hazel and James. I thought that it was just really pure and really sweet. It kind of reminded me of Divine Rivals, and kind of the magical, goddess elements combined with what kind of, I know Divine Rivals isn't set during World War I or World War II, but it kind of has that old time feeling, I guess. So it definitely reminded me a lot of that, and I just felt like their relationship, again, kind of in Divine Rivals, was just really pure and sweet, and you just could not help but root for that young couple. I also really loved the point of view of Aubrey. I knew that African-American soldiers served during World War I, World War II. I think that they have served in all of the U.S. wars, but kind of in my little privileged bubble, I never obviously the civil rights movement hasn't happened at that time, and it never occurred to me, again, kind of in my privileged bubble, that African-American soldiers were, basically terrorized by other soldiers in the war. And I thought that was just a really important thing to put into the book and to educate. At the end of the book, Julie Berry references some books and things that she kind of helped get research for this novel in. One of them is A Testament of Youth by Vera Burton, which is one of my favorite books of all time. So yeah, I just really, really recommend this one. Next, I did a reread and I reread Sense and Sensibility by Jane Austen. I had not read this book in almost 10 years and I didn't remember a thing that happened about it. But it primarily tells the story of two sisters named Eleanor and Marianne. Their father has passed away, so they and their mother and younger sister are kind of like just thrown to that like widow, like we have to leave our home, we have to figure out a place to live, you know, in that time. So they go to live in a cottage at a cousin's estate because their elder brother who was their father's son from a previous marriage, is inheriting their like estate. Again, I hadn't read this book in so long, I didn't remember it, and I remember kind of leading up to this reread, anytime I would see things about Sense and Sensibility, I was like, it's overrated, like it's not her best work, like I don't know why everyone hypes up about it so much. I don't know what I was thinking. I loved this so much. Like the drama, I mean, like, holy cow, there were parts that like my jaw was dropping. And there was like, when I was getting close to the end, I was like, oh, I'm gonna finish this chapter and go to bed. I couldn't, because like the shocker and the twist at the end of the chapter, I was like, I gotta keep going. The romance and the pining, it was so good. Clemmie has chased a spider over to me. Oh my gosh, let's kill it. This is chaos. 'Tis dead. We did it. High five. But anyway, I loved it. I have a whole vlog kind of talking about my reading experiences with this book, so you can watch that if you're interested. The next physical book and the last physical book that I read of the month was The Other Bennet Sister by Janice Hadlow. This tells the story of Mary Bennet, who's one of the Bennet sisters from Pride and Prejudice, and this tells her story of her trying to find her way in the world. It takes place a little bit before Pride and Prejudice, but primarily after the novel. And I also have a vlog detailing my reading experiences on this one. I'm gonna be honest, I didn't like this book. I think I gave it 2 stars, and that was because I finished it. I found Mary incredibly irritating as a character. She hated herself, like she absolutely loathed herself, and even as she, like toward the end, as she was kind of beginning to come more into her own, she just made like a lot of really dumb decisions and like spiteful decisions, and I felt that kind of the message of this character, like hating herself and not feeling like she deserved good things, just to like, I moved to London, I get new clothes, and men like me now, like I'm worthy. And I didn't like that message at all. And also, I'm not gonna lie, I think this book is entirely too long, and over 50% of this book is Mr. Collins fan fiction. So, was not for me. The last book that I read in the month of June, well, actually it was the first book, but the ebook, I guess, rather, the last book I'm going to talk about is A False Start by Elsie Silver. This was the last book in the Gold Rush Ranch series, and it was the last Elsie Silver that's been released that I hadn't read. And it has like a little bit of like a brother's best friend dynamic, and I honestly didn't really like love either of the characters. I didn't have like a huge desire to see either one of them like come together. I struggle sometimes with age gap like romances, especially when the girl is younger and she's trying to go to college and like start like a life for herself, and then there's like this older established man. I just feel like realistically, in order for her to achieve her dreams, most of the time that doesn't really work out, and so I just don't always enjoy those, because I really struggle to enjoy romances if I don't like realistically feel like this couple is gonna make it, like they're gonna stay together forever. So it was just kind of iffy. It was just kind of okay. But the grand like romantic gesture at the end of the story was like the sweetest thing. It involves flowers, and I feel like that is like reducing to how beautiful and how creative like this was. But it kind of saved the book and made it one that I was like, that was a great little romance. All right, I also wanted to quickly share with you some books that are on my radar for July. I don't make monthly TBRs, like concrete TBRs, because TBRs give me anxiety if I feel like I can't meet them. But I do have some books on my radar, so I thought I would talk about them too. The first book that I would really like to finish in the month of July, I almost said June, is My Friends by Fredrik Backman. I started buddy reading this with a friend. I'm like 50 pages in. And my friend was like, it's too sad, I like cannot finish this book. So it was kind of on my own, but I kind of had other books on my radar, and I had just kind of planned on reading this kind of slowly with my friend. So it kind of went on the back burner, but I would really love to sit down, really dedicate time to it, and prioritize this book. It was one of my most anticipated like releases of the year. And I feel like just based on Fredrik Backman's writing and the little bit that I've read, I feel like this could very well be like a 5-star read for me. Additionally, I want to read A Fate Inked in Blood by Danielle Jensen. I have had this book for a little while. I think I bought it in the fall, and it has really beautiful sprayed edges. And it's one of those books that I'm like constantly like, I'm gonna pick that book up next. I'm gonna pick it up next. And then I never do. It's been sitting on my nightstand for a while. So I would really like to prioritize it and get to it before I really start like cranking out my summer TBR. Mostly because like I'll get drawn in to it and then I'll kind of forget about it, but I keep seeing like fan art and I just really want to read it. And I haven't read like, I'm gonna say this on the next book I'm talking about is like fantasy, but I haven't really read, I guess like a romantasy, really. I haven't read like a really good romantasy in a while. So I'm just kind of in the mood for it, I think. So we'll see. It might get pushed back a few more months, who knows, but potentially I would like to get to this one in July too. So last night I finished What the River Knows, and I cannot think of the author's name. I think it's Isabel something. I also don't know if I'm gonna pronounce her name right because I do think it is a little bit more Spanish sounding, so I'm not gonna attempt to do that. But I started it and I was just kind of reading it. It was just kind of a casual, fun little book that I had, and I was really enjoying it. Like I thought that it was so much fun. I thought that the like fantasy elements were incredibly cool. I was obsessed with Egyptians through like middle school and stuff, so I loved that element of it. I enjoyed the heroine very much, especially with reading the other Bennet sister. Like getting to read about a strong, determined heroine was beautiful, and the romance was cute, the banter was cute. I loved it. And so last night when I went to sit down to read a little bit before bed, I had 2.5 hours, or maybe even over 2.5 hours left on that book. And holy cow, the last like 24, 25% was just like jaw on the floor. I was squirming. Jeremy and Clementine were asleep, and they ended up coming out to the couch, which I know I should have been the one that like got up and came out to the couch, because I was just constantly like, oh my gosh, it was a wild ride. I enjoyed it so much. So I'm going to go, normally when I read like series or duologies, I kind of space them out a couple books in between. But like I have to go straight into the next one, which is called Where the Library Hides, I think. So that will definitely be the next book that I probably read in July. It was a wild trip, and I highly, 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 highly recommend that if you just want something fun, lighthearted, magical, and sweet and cute. All right, so that pretty much sums up my July TBR. I will be kind of starting to crank out books in my summer TBR, but I won't go on about those just because that's the next video that I plan on filming, so I'll talk about those then. But thank you so much for being here and listening to me babble on about books. I hope you know that I really do appreciate your time. I'm sorry that this video was full of chaos. But that's just me, and that's just life, I think. So maybe it brought a smile to your face. I don't know. But anyway, thank you so much for being here and watching this video. I really, truly appreciate your time, and I hope that you know that. And I will see you very soon in another video. Bye.